What's up guys, Eric from Racing Cockpits, and today I'm going to show you how to set up the Pro and the Sport triple monitor mounts and how to use the 5-axis adjustment to make sure that your monitors fit perfectly together. And if you follow the steps in the right order, it's actually really easy to get it just perfect. Let's get into it. Hey guys, so Eric from the future, something quick I wanted to talk about is the Vesa mounts are designed in a very unique way. Counterintuitively, the bolts that go into the top of the Vesa mount that attach the monitor to the rail are not intended to be tightened all the way down. Intuitively, you would think you would tighten it all the way down and that's what secures it on there. But those bolts on the top are actually designed just to adjust the angle, fine-tune the angle of the monitor to allow all three to be angled in a particular position. It also means that since you're not tightening them all the way down, if you lift the weight off the monitor, you can move the monitors around easily and then let the weight go on them, and that is what secures them in place. So again, this will make sense once you go through the process, but just to start with, you're not going to tighten those top M8 bolts that are holding the Vesa mount onto the rail all the way. You just tighten them enough that they're threaded in, and then you use them to fine-tune the adjustment of the angle of the monitor. So anyway, let's get into it. All right, so the first step is we're going to mount the Vesa mount using the included M4 screws and the Allen wrench. The key point to this step is that you want to make sure that when you're mounting this, that each screw is in the middle of these little channels, so that once it's on the rig, you can move it up and down and rotate it left and right to get everything aligned perfectly. So that's a very important step. Let's do it. Okay, so I got the Vesa mount on here, and one important note is that when you're tightening these Vesa bolts, you want to make sure that they're tight, but not too tight. So it should be tight enough that the monitor won't move, but loose enough that when you go to twist or turn the monitor and move it up and down, that you can still do it. And then we're going to tighten the bottom two bolts later once everything is perfectly aligned. So again, you want them tight, but not too tight. Okay, now we're going to repeat the same process with the other two monitors. All right, there we go. We got the Vesa mounts on all three monitors. So let's install these bad boys. All right, guys, so the first thing we're going to do is install the center monitor. So you're going to need two M8 spring ball T-nuts. Go ahead and pop those into the T-slot on the top. And then I'm going to set these two 12mm M8 bolts just to the side in the rail, and then the M5 Allen wrench off to the side. The reason I'm having everything ready like this is because I'm going to be carrying a monitor, and once I put it on here, I'm going to be able to need to access these bolts and the Allen wrench with one hand. So get everything laid out like this, and then we'll go ahead and grab the first monitor and install it. All right, so here I've got my first monitor. So I'm going to just go ahead and line it up with one of the T-nuts, and then put in one of these M8 bolts. There we go. And I'm just going to kind of tighten it with my fingers, and then I'm going to use my finger inside the T-slot. Make sure you guys can see that. I'm going to move the other T-nut so that I can see it through the hole. And I'm going to use this other 12mm M8 bolt. I'm going to tighten it with my fingers. Then I'm going to use, I'm still holding the weight with my right hand, but with my left hand I'm going to tighten these. Not all the way, but just making sure that they are threaded into the T-nut. And then gently let go of pressure with your hand, and make sure that the threads are really in the T-nuts. It's not going to come falling out. So there we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is align the center monitor, make sure it's perfectly centered. And so what we're going to do is actually measure from the edge of the pivot plate to the edge of the Vesa mount. And I'm going to use millimeters and centimeters because it's going to be more exact for what I'm trying to do. So 34 and 31. So I need to move it over a little bit. Okay, let's check again. Okay, it's like 32.75, like 32.75. Okay, so now we're perfectly centered. So the way that we're gonna actually level the monitor this direction is by tightening these screws. So the key thing with these monitor mounts is when you're tightening the screws, they do not need to be all the way tight in order to stay stable. The tightening of the screws is actually used to adjust the angle. The weight of the monitor pulling gives friction to the T-nuts in the T-slot and will hold the monitors in place even if they're not all the way screwed down. All right guys, so now what we're gonna do is level the center monitor and we're gonna do it in two different axes. So the first one is like this. Okay, looks pretty darn close. If it wasn't, the way that you adjust is just by pushing on the monitor to twist it left to right. So you can see I can actually move it. And that's because we tightened, but didn't tighten too tight, the screws on the back of the Vesa mount. So basically you get it so that it's perfectly level. Okay, so a little bit more. There we go. Okay, it's perfectly level. Now we're going to use these back two screws to adjust how level the monitor is this direction, tilting forward and back. So let's see. Okay, so we need to tighten it. So I'm going to tighten these about a quarter of a turn. Now let's check again. Okay, we need a little bit more. Let's tighten it by about a quarter of a turn. Yep, that's perfect, 0.0. Okay, so basically now we have the center monitor centered, and we also have it level this way and also level front and back. And that's important because this edge is going to meet up with this monitor and this edge is going to meet up with this right hand monitor. And if you have this one perfect, it makes the left and right monitor a lot easier to match up perfectly as well. Okay, now we're going to do the right monitor first, and we're going to set it up the same way. We're going to have the T-nuts already in here. I'm going to have two 12 millimeter M8 bolts ready to go, and the M5 Allen wrench ready to go. And I'm going to grab the monitor. Okay, so here I've got the right hand monitor. I'm just going to go ahead and put this in here. Take one of the M8 bolts, line it up with the T-nut, and tighten it with my fingers. Then I'll move the monitor. And a little trick, if the T-nut is too far over, you can kind of move it with the Allen wrench. Okay. Fit in the T-nut. I'm going to hand tighten it and just give a few more, maybe one more turn with the Allen wrench, making sure that the monitor is not going to fall. Okay, so now what we can do, because these are loose, is actually lift up on the monitor and actually move it. And what we're going to do is move it so that it's pressed against the center monitor. You may have to adjust the monitors, tilt side to side as well. Okay, and then we're going to actually use the M5 Allen wrench here to slowly tighten these bolts. And you want to tighten the right, then the left, and then go back to the right, and keep tightening them. Make sure that they're matching up. Actually, you might even kind of hold it with the bottom hand and then slowly tighten kind of a quarter turn on each of these bolts until you can basically let go and the monitors stay perfectly aligned. And basically by tightening those and holding it in place, you're getting the Vesa mount exactly where it needs to be. And you can see that seam looks great. And then we're just going to repeat the process on the other side. Let's do it. All right, so for the final monitor, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set up our 12 millimeter bolts, have our Allen wrench ready to go, have the T-nuts already in the slot, and then I'm going to go grab the monitor. Okay, so here's the third monitor. So again, we're gonna line it up, hold it balanced with one hand, and then insert the M8 bolts into the T-nuts. Now we're just gonna go through the same process where we are gonna hold the alignment. Okay, so one of the things I'm finding is that with this monitor, it's when I get it aligned, it's actually a little bit too low. So basically, just loosened the two bottom M4 screws just a little bit to help it be easier. And then I'm actually just gonna raise it up. And now again, I'm gonna hold it together at the bottom point where the two monitors meet. And the alignment this direction is now the last piece. So I'm gonna take my M5, and as I hold it in place, I'm gonna do about a quarter turn to a half turn each. Okay, that one's a little tighter and this one's a little looser. So I'm gonna start with the one that's looser and then go to the one that's tighter and keep going until I can let go. And they are aligned. This just needs a tiny bit more. Okay, looks good. Now, once everything is all lined up perfectly, the last step is to go around and tighten the bottom two M4 bolts on each Vesa mount. And what this is going to do is lock the monitors in place as far as the tilt and the up and down. And so that, as the force feedback is coming through and everything's moving, the monitors will stay in place. I know I make it look easy because I've done this quite a few times. So you might need to, mess with things a little bit more, but the general principles are exactly what you see here. Let's see what the final product looks like. All right, guys, so as you can see, just following those steps, and we have these monitors that are just about perfectly aligned. There might be some little fine tuning I could do, but they are really, really good. And as you can see, it's pretty quick. Now, I've taken this apart and put it back together probably 20 times. So there's some little knacks to it that I'm probably doing that I don't even notice. So, take your time and feel free to get creative and loosen bolts and move things how you need to get them to fit. The key element is making sure that the center monitor is initially centered and level in each dimension. And then with the side monitors, they can be tilted a little bit. You can tighten one screw more than the other, but holding them while you tighten everything seems to be the secret to making it easy to get them all aligned perfectly. And as you can see, once you do have them aligned perfectly, you're right in the cockpit and ready to race. So I hope that was helpful in how to set up the triple monitor mounts. Please let us know if you have any questions or run into any problems. You can reach us at team@racingcockpits.com or text or call us. The number's at the top of our website all the time. So we are happy to help with any problems you run into, or if you have any suggestions, we would love to hear them. And have fun racing. Get out there, guys. See ya.